production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, Farm Week celebrates its 37th anniversary and begins its 38th season.
A USDA Deputy Secretary visits Tunica to talk about the income protection in the new Farm Bill.
In Southern gardening, ornamental peppers. They're pretty as well as hot.
In the food factor, why desk dining may actually be a threat to your health.
In the markets, larger than expected stocks of corn won't help grain prices, but the cheaper feed is sparking some herd rebuilding in the hog sector.
In the feature segment, Lillian Thornton. She was the first Farm Week feature story 37 years ago. Her self-sufficiency is an example to us today.
I'm 81. I guess you might say I've been farming about nearly 11 years since my husband died. If I'm going to farm, I have no one to help. Therefore, I have to do whatever comes to be done. It matters not what it is. I have to find a way if I don't know how.
There you go. Welcome to Farm Week. I'm Artis Ford.
I'm Leighton Spann. A trip down memory lane as we
Yes,
mark an important anniversary.
And glad that you came with us on that trip because, as we've said before, we wouldn't be on the air if you didn't watch. And we appreciate your support all these years. It's hard to believe. You just got 20 in.
Only 20.
I'll have 30 in come towards the end of the year.
We've ridden many miles together. We've shared many stories.
And enjoyed it.
Yes.
And we appreciate you being there for us.
Well, farmers, as we move to the news segment, are being encouraged to become familiar now with the details of the new Farm Bill. The sign-up for election process begins in November. The old system of direct payments to producers is being replaced by new crop insurance options.
Individual producers have got to make some of their own decisions, so there's a lot of questions. Again, we're encouraging them to use the web-based tools that have been developed by land-grant universities, making sure they're plugging in their own numbers, thinking about how the decisions they need to make for their own operations. So I think there's a little nervousness maybe, but also some excitement. They know that they have more control, and there's not a one-size-fits-all, and they can really make these programs work for them.
The web-based tools Krista Harden mentioned to assist farmers in making the required choices are available at fsa.usda.gov. Producers must decide between PLC, price loss coverage, or ARC, agricultural risk coverage for their crops. Harden explained the difference Monday in Tunica.
It provides a safety net during tough times. If you have more likely to have price issues, you have high yields, but prices are a problem, you may look at something like PLC. But if you have revenue issues, ARC may be your choice. But you can decide that yourself, which is very different from we've had in the past.
Sign up begins November 17th and runs through next March. The new farm law will remain in force through the year 2018.
Well, the local food movement has resulted in many farmers markets springing up in Mississippi and across the nation. The Mississippi State University Extension Service recently held a workshop to help growers learn strategies to increase their sales at farmers markets. Farm Week's Amy Taylor reports from Raymond, Mississippi.
tell you at the end.
Those who attended the Growing for Farmers Markets Conference at the Eagle Ridge Conference Center learned about what customers look for. Mississippi State University Extension Service vegetable specialist Rick Snyder explains the need for this event.
We wanted to create more farmers markets in the state, and this event was promoted that way. We do have a number of people here from boards of aldermen, city government, mayors, and county employees here because they're already interested in starting a new market and they don't really know how to get it going.
Additionally, Don Wambles with the Alabama Department of Agriculture covers important details to remember about making sales.
You've got to have a tablecloth. Your tablecloth needs to contrast with your produce. Do not use a tablecloth that is going to blend with the color of product that you have on the table. Signage is extremely important. You know, number one, you want to tell your customer who you are. Use signage that is, the fonts, the sign. You know, people love fancy fonts. They're hard to read. By all means, don't hang it crooked. Put it where people can see it. You really can't stress the importance of social media these days. So I strongly recommend that every market has a website. Every farmer look into creating a website. Keep it updated.
Wambles says essential information to update online includes accurate directions, product details, and photos. From Raymond, Mississippi, I'm Amy Taylor reporting.
Most of us don't think anything about eating lunch at our desk if we're trying to get some extra work accomplished. Not many of us know, however, we're putting ourselves at risk from bacteria and foodborne illness. In this week's episode of The Food Factor, Natasha Haynes of the Mississippi State University Extension Service shows us how to be a responsible desk diner.
Okay, I will admit it, I'm a desk diner. I know my desk was not designed to be a dining room table. In fact, eating at the computer can be a problem. One of the biggest drawbacks is that you're not focused on your food. Eating at your desk encourages mindless eating and overeating. If you get called away from your desk, your food is sitting out. This could potentially delay eating for an hour or two, putting food in the temperature danger zone. Your desk is 400 times dirtier than your toilet. The phone is the dirtiest, the desktop is next, and the mouse and the computer follow. Disinfect your desk. Wipe the whole desk area with disinfecting wipes once a day. Use a placemat. They create a barrier between your food and the bacteria on your desk. Avoid touching your phone, keyboard, and mouse while eating. And always remember to wash your hands. Don't make eating at your desk a habit. Instead, get away from your desk to clear your head, catch up with friends, or just relax. It's time to make healthy food a factor in your life.
In the South, we usually grow vegetables to eat, but some can also be used as ornamental plants. In this week's Southern Gardening segment, Extension horticulturist Dr. Gary Bachman shows us how ornamental peppers can add color to any landscape.
A popular trend in landscaping is including vegetables with ornamental interest. Probably my favorite group are the ornamental peppers. Today I'm in the trial garden at the MSU South Mississippi branch station in Poplarville looking at great examples of ornamental peppers. There's a wide variety of foliage colors and fruit shapes. The overall impact and adaptability of ornamental peppers was recognized in 2010 when purple flash pepper was named a Mississippi Medallion winner. With its purple and white variegated leaves, it's one of the showiest peppers available on the market. The fruits start as dark marbles and mature bright red. The showy fruit are displayed in different ways. The variety Sangria holds its slender fruit pointing upward boastfully, its range of colors from lavender, orange, and red. While Chenzo pepper has elegant arching branches, the fruit, ranging from green to black to red, hangs vertically underneath. For most ornamental peppers, the plant will begin setting fruit as the temperatures begin to heat up and will keep producing through the fall season. These plants offer great ornamental value, featuring considerable numbers of fruit, all at different stages of color development. When planted in the full sun, ornamental peppers will not let you down. Their bright colors and vigorous growth will continue throughout the hot and dry summer season and beyond. However, be cautious if you actually want to eat these peppers, because they're really hot. Shishi Gashira! Woo! I'm Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
And Gary says his mouth is still burning. Not for me, I tell you. In our feature segment today, meet the first subject of the first feature story to air on Farm Week. She can hold her own with any feature story that we've aired since. And before we get to the markets today with Leighton, next week is National 4-H Week, and social media is one way that's being used to celebrate it. Go on Twitter or Facebook and post a picture of yourself holding a hashtag, and it says hashtag I am 4-H, just as you see President Mark Keenum of Mississippi State University doing. Mississippians are also urged to do the same with a sign reading hashtag MS4H. Last year, 4-H in Mississippi boasted almost 84,000 members. Be sure to visit the 4-H Village at the Mississippi State Fair from now through October 12th. Time now for the markets with Leighton. And Leighton, you say it's about a week away from the monthly supply-demand reports?
It is almost, and the market expects the USDA to increase the forecast size of the U.S. corn crop once again, so that report on the 10th could be a market mover, as we say. In the headlines this week, a slight surprise in last Tuesday's grain stocks report. A long-running cotton dispute with Brazil is close to ending, as a quarterly pork report indicates there's more hog supply than the trade expected to see. The month of September ended with the release of the U.S. grain stocks report back on Tuesday. Analyst Darrell Good says the numbers added to the supply pressure for corn and wheat. The slight surprise I mentioned earlier in the segment is that U.S. soybean stocks were smaller than expected. However, Good says that change for beans provided little price support in the markets. The Financial Times Online reports that the U.S. and Brazil agreed on Wednesday of this week to resolve a decade-long feud over some cotton subsidies. Extension Ag economist John Michael Riley joined me on Thursday morning to discuss this and other developments pertaining to the U.S. cotton market. John Michael, Thursday morning we got a new export sales report for cotton. What did that look like?
Current exports are down, but we are seeing a pickup in future sales, which is good, but also surprising given the fact that we have seen so much strength accumulate for the U.S. dollar, which of course makes our goods more expensive to our friends overseas. So the fact that we do see more sales for future deliveries is a bit surprising, but not surprising there is the fact that exports are down, and I think that's really what's been moving the market here lately is this dollar move as well as the expected decline in exports.
And from what I could see Thursday morning, the market didn't really respond, definitely not positive to that export news.
Well, I think the response has really been in the days prior leading up to today's report, just because of the fact that we have seen such strength in the dollar and such other world news is just kind of taking precedent, putting the pressure on it, and that's largely reflected today as the non-response.
Would you think December futures are going to be able to kind of hold in the $61 range with this continued pressure that it's under?
That's the million-dollar question, right? Given everything that we know right now, there is a lot of support there. I'm not much of a technical type of guy, but I do think that the market is looking at everything that's available right now, and it's in trading in that range should continue given as long as everything holds. But obviously we're looking at what could be a big crop here. We saw some adjustments last month to the supply and demand report. We're going to get a report here next week on that. So the market's moving its attention to that report as we speak, more than likely.
Now also some news Wednesday this week. We had word that this long dispute between the U.S. and Brazil over cotton subsidies, that was going to be settled. Is that likely to move the market or have any impact really?
I think everything there is so that story has really lost some of the headline, but it is, I think, more than anything, it's just a relief to get it off the books and be able to move past that and know that we're not going to be under the cloud of this WTO case.
And final question, I know a week ago China kind of hit the market hard with a hammer when they were clamping down on imports. What's the rationale behind that?
I think it just has a lot to do with the fact that China's sitting on so many inventories, and they're trying to do what they can to relieve those. Definitely put some pressure on the market and continues to, that's largely what moved it.
Our trivia quiz this week recognizes the just concluded National Farm Safety and Health Week. Here's a quiz question for you. What age group has the highest risk of injury on a farm? Now, which two of these four choices are the answer? Is it A, age 15 and under, B, age 25 to 40, C, age 40 to 60, and D, age 65 and over? I'll tell you at the end of the markets.
We're going to pause for a short break on Farm Week. Coming up, we'll look at the calendar and the rest of the markets. Leighton Spann reports that hog supplies appear to be increasing more than expected. In the feature segment today, the first feature story to air on Farm Week. It paid tribute to a woman who didn't let her age stop her from farming.
Healthy living, healthy gardening. That's the focus of the 2014 Fall Flower and Garden Fest in Crystal Springs. This annual festival features the latest flower, fruit, and vegetable varieties, expert advice on home gardening and landscaping, as well as guided tours throughout the beautiful demonstration gardens. Be sure to attend the Fall Flower and Garden Fest October 17th and 18th at the MSU Truck Crops Experiment Station in Crystal Springs.
Before we get back to the markets, let's look at the Farm Week calendar. The Fall Beef Cattle and Forage Field Day at Prairie is set for Saturday, October 25th. The location is the Prairie Research Unit of the Mississippi Agriculture and Forestry Experiment Station. It's located west of Aberdeen on Highway 382. The hours are 9 a.m. to noon. Please call ahead to reserve your free lunch. Native grasses, implant studies, mineral supplements are just a few of the items on the agenda. How to age cattle using their teeth will also be demonstrated. The annual Ag Lenders Workshop will take place in two locations. The first will be held Wednesday, October 15th at the Grenada County Extension Office on Fairground Road in Grenada. The second is Thursday, November 6th. That will be at the Lincoln Civic Center on Beltline Drive at Brookhaven. Online registration is available. A lot will be covered: farm bill income changes, crop, livestock, and timber prices. Go to our Farm Week website at farmweek.msucares.com for information on these and other events. Now check out this week's Farm Week Snapshot.
We turn to livestock now in the markets. There's more pork supply in the pipeline than the market anticipated. This is one headline out of the new quarterly Hogs and Pigs report. Analyst Elaine Cubb says the numbers definitely have bearish implications for hog prices in the summer and fall of 2015.
They said the hog inventory is down 1%, and that's less. It's not as far down as the analysts were expecting it to be before the report. So the idea is that there's actually a little more supply of hog inventory than people were expecting, so that's bearish. The herd has not been expanding. It didn't immediately respond to the cheaper grain. It sort of waited until now to start rebuilding that breeding herd. It's been very slow compared to when the cheap grain was. It feels like the hog producer just had a lot of uncertainty. Certainly with the PED virus last summer, there was a lot of uncertainty, and now there's, I don't think, much uncertainty that we're going to have cheap grain available for the foreseeable future.
Before our feature story, let's check the trivia answer for this week. The correct choices, again, there were two, are A and D. OSHA says entry rates on the farm are highest for children age 15 and under and adults age 65 and over.
As you heard earlier, this week marks Farm Week's 37th anniversary and the beginning of our 38th season on the air. Our feature story today aired on the first show. It's about Lillian Thornton of Raymond, Mississippi. She raised registered Angus cattle and did it at an age when most would be retired. She was 81 years old at the time of Farm Week's visit. Farm Week's first host, Bruce Johnson, introduced her October 3rd, 1977.
A little while ago, we visited with an 81-year-old woman who lives just south of Jackson near Raymond. Not only does Mrs. Lillian Thornton get around more like a woman half her age, but she also operates by herself a livestock farm. We think you'll enjoy getting to know her.
I grew up on a farm with 12 of us, 9 boys and 3 girls, and I must have learned a great deal about some forms of farming, especially cotton farming at that time, and so it hasn't seemed too hard for me. My lawyer said when my husband died nearly 11 years ago for me to make no changes. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, I mean for you to make no changes. I said, what I'm going to do with all those black Angus cows that my husband has bought that we have. He said, you're going to keep them. You know as much about it as he did. And I did. So I did keep them, and that, I think, has really meant almost the salvation of my life and my mind, because I was so busy I didn't have time to maybe grieve like I would have. I'm 81. I guess you might say I've been farming about nearly 11 years since my husband died. If I'm going to farm, I have no one to help. Therefore, I have to do whatever comes to be done. It matters not what it is. I have to find a way if I don't know how. I build my own gates. I hang them. I have a circular saw that I saw all the parts, measure all parts for a gate. Saw them all here at the house where I have electricity. Carry them to the place that I'm going to hang it. Build the gate and then hang it by way of lifts, maybe tubs, or concrete blocks or whatever, till I have nailed the hinges on and hang it. My husband had all of the fencing done before he died, but there's always breaks of one kind and another, and I repair. I have a stretcher, and usually I don't have to use a stretcher. I use 2 hammers most times to repair. I have black Angus cattle, purebred, registered. I usually keep 100 head of cattle, but I've recently sold 67 head because they haven't been worth too much. And all of the years until last year, I've had to pay income tax on what I've made on my cattle because I'd sell some of them for breeding purposes and others to buyers whom I know. And so I have done that. But I felt that maybe I better just kind of cut down. I have only 36 now, and I'm just keeping those to kind of see whether the price goes up or whether they don't. And I raise my hay. I have 16 acres that I have cut every year for hay, and I usually get from 1,500 to 2,000 bales of hay, and that's enough for my cattle that I keep. I have a large barn that my husband made troughs all the way through, and they're big enough to hold just one bale of hay after another. I have the hay stacked back of the troughs, and I just lift those 65 and 70-pound bales over into that trough one by one until I have enough to feed as many cows as I have. I raise a garden. I would guess it's at least a fifth of an acre, and sometimes when I'm working it, I'm sure it's a half acre. I've had to water it consistently. Luckily, I have a lake up over where my garden is. And that pipe, I stop up one end at the garden with a stick with a rag wrapped around it. Then I go up to the levee and I fill the pipe, the lead pipe, with water. Usually takes about 6 or 8 gallons to fill it. And then I stick a stick with a rag on it in that and keep it very tight until I wade down into the lake and put that under water with a rock on it and then pull out the stick with the rag in it. Then I go back to the garden and pull the stick out there, and I have a great big inch of water coming out, and then I take pipes and put to the lead pipe, just shave them off and stick them in and water the whole garden. whatever you have to do, you have to do if you have a farm. If you don't know how to do it, you have to learn.
And you can watch this story again on our Farm Week website, Facebook page, or YouTube. The address on the web is farmweek.msucares.com. Now let me remind everyone, she was 81 at the time of Farm Week's visit. Are you going to be raising cows when you're 81?
I hope I'm doing half that well at 81.
She kept the cattle for several more years after Farm Week's visit. She ultimately lived 12 more years, passing away at the age of 93. Just a remarkable woman.
Definitely.
I so wish that I had been able to meet her. And she accepted what life threw at her, and she overcame. I mean, she learned how to build fences and stuff, and she was in her 70s.
And move all that hay around.
That's right. Well, we are at the end of Farm Week for this week. On our next show, Mississippi honey.
Unfortunately, both the numbers of bees and small beekeepers have been falling in recent years. You'll visit 2 state operations which work hard for this natural product.
In Southern Gardening, we'll have a plant that offers late season color, and it can stand temperatures down into the mid-teens.
And in the Food Factory, you'll see why you need to include onions in your diet.
We'll also have highlights from the Mid-South Forestry Equipment Show. For the rest of the Farm Week crew, I'm Artis Ford.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week.